Full spoilers ahead for the last house. Jason Delgado is fishing near Seattle when dark clouds roll over the water. He catches a tiny fish, looks at it and throws it back. Too small, he decides. The fish gets another chance. It feels like a small, kind moment. Much later it becomes the whole point. Jason returns to his ordinary suburban home. His wife, Anne, is there with their young son Graham, their younger daughter Ruth, and the family dog Cassidy. Rain starts falling outside. At first, nobody worries. Seattle has rain, that is not exactly a mystery. By morning, the phones and internet are dead. Then Jason tries the front door. It is unlocked, but it will not move. The back door will not move either. The windows are not nailed shut, yet even a heavy blow cannot break them. It is as if an invisible wall has wrapped around the whole house. Jason attacks the problem like an engineer. He pushes, measures, tests, and hits. Anne keeps the children calm, but every route ends at the same answer. The family is inside, the world is outside, and something has decided those two things must stay separate. Across the street, neighbors appear behind their own windows. They hold up handwritten signs. They are trapped too. Soon the street becomes a silent message board. One window asks if anyone has a signal. Another says no. Someone guesses government quarantine. Someone else guesses aliens. Nobody knows anything useful. The Delgados wait for rescue. No trucks arrive. No police knock. No helicopter circles above. The rain keeps falling and the house becomes a box with 4 people, 1 old dog, and a food supply that suddenly has a number attached to it. They count cans, they divide portions, they fill containers while the taps still work. Jason tries cutting through walls, but the strange barrier stops every attempt near the outside edge. The house is not locked in the normal sense. Reality itself seems to be holding the doors closed. Days become weeks. The family makes a schedule because schedules make fear look smaller. Morning means lessons for Graham and Ruth. Afternoon means repairs, ration checks, and experiments. At night, they watch old DVDs, listen to records, and pretend their living room is still a living room instead of a waiting room at the end of the world. Modern life peels away in layers. First, the signal disappears. Then the easy food goes. Household objects stop being comforts and become spare parts. A chair can be wood. A curtain can be rope. A toy animal can help teach a survival lesson. Every cupboard becomes a tiny warehouse and every meal becomes a meeting nobody wants to attend. The neighbors do the same. At one point, the street even holds a party through glass. People dance in separate houses, waving across the rain. Nobody can touch anybody, but for a few minutes they are together. It is sweet, ridiculous, and sad. Humanity invents a block party inside a prison. Then supplies shrink. A neighbor holds up a sign asking for food. Jason has nothing safe to give. Another window goes dark. The street loses one little square of life at a time. Ruth begins talking about a figure outside. She calls it the rain walker. Her parents assume fear is turning shadows into monsters, but Ruth keeps watching. She sees something move where no person should be able to walk. The audience sees only pieces, a silhouette, a fast shape, water bending around it. The children grow, years pass inside the same walls. Graham and Ruth are no longer little kids. Jason's hair changes. Anne's face carries the tired look of someone who has spent years saying everything will be okay without any evidence. That time jump is the cruelest reveal in the story. The family did not survive one strange weekend. They lost whole pieces of childhood inside the house. Graham and Ruth learn about the world through lessons, records, and fading memories of streets they cannot enter. Their parents are not waiting for normal life anymore. They are trying to build a smaller life that can continue without it. They learn to survive with strange little systems. Anne grows what food she can indoors. Jason uses the damaged chimney as the only opening the force has not completely sealed. He builds traps and lowers lines outside, trying to catch small animals. Dinner now depends on whether a homemade bucket machine works. Civilization has become a rope, a chimney, and 4 hungry people staring upward. The system produces food, but every success costs them. Cassidy grows old and sick. The family has already lost almost every comfort. Now they face the possibility of losing the dog too. Hunger turns love into arithmetic and nobody wants to say the answer aloud. The movie spends a long time inside this pressure. Jason becomes more controlling because control is the only tool he trusts. Anne becomes the softer center, but softness also gets exhausted. Graham wants to be treated like someone old enough to help. Ruth still believes the thing outside is real. Then Ruth becomes ill and needs medicine they do not have. Anne can see supplies in a nearby house, close enough to imagine reaching and far enough to die trying. The barrier and floodwater make every meter dangerous. But a parent watching a child get weaker does not care about sensible odds. Anne risks the journey through the connected, water-filled space and reaches the neighbor's home. She finds antibiotics and brings them back. The medicine helps Ruth, but the trip proves something frightening. The sealed houses are not separate accidents. They are part of one controlled environment. The rain is not simply bad weather. Water gathers where it should drain. It moves with purpose. The force can hold walls shut, flood rooms, and open paths when it wants. The family is not only trapped, they are being managed. There is also a visual clue sitting inside the home: fish behind glass. Humans watch them, feed them, and decide how large their world will be. Now the Delgados live behind windows while another species controls the water outside. The comparison is never written on a sign, but the shape of it is hard to miss. Soon the thing Ruth has watched for years finally enters their world. It is an aquatic creature, something adapted to deep water and darkness. The film never gives a neat science lesson about where it came from or how its powers work. What matters is simpler: it can control the water around the house and it is not alone. The family panics. After years of starvation and fear, the monster has finally stepped into reach. Jason uses every improvised trap and tool he has built. The house floods as the creature moves through it. Furniture floats. Rooms that once held birthday meals and school lessons become a cold tank. For a moment, the Delgados gain the upper hand. They trap one creature. Jason has a weapon near its vulnerable eye. He can kill the thing that kept his children imprisoned. After all those years, revenge is finally close enough to touch. But Ruth stops him. She has watched the rain walker longer than anyone. She sees fear in it, not just danger. The creature is powerful outside, but here it is pinned down and helpless. The picture mirrors Jason's first moment by the water. A stronger being holds a weaker life. The easy choice is to destroy it. Jason lowers the weapon. He lets the creature live. The creature then receives the same choice. It could attack. It could drown the house. Instead, it releases the family. The impossible doors finally open. Other creatures gather outside, but the one Jason spared stands between them and the Delgados. For the first time in years, the family steps beyond the threshold. The air is real. The rain has stopped. Behind them, the exhausted house collapses as if the strange force had been holding it together only while the family remained inside. The neighborhood is almost unrecognizable. Years of rain have flooded the world. Streets have become waterways. Familiar roofs rise like little islands. The Delgados take a boat and move into a planet that no longer belongs only to humans. Ruth explains that other people survived. The creatures still exist below the water, and the film does not tell us whether they invaded, rescued, tested, or simply contained humanity. That answer stays deliberately muddy. But the movie leaves a strong visual idea. Early on, the family watches fish through glass. Later, unknown beings watch the family through windows surrounded by water. Maybe the house was an aquarium. Maybe the Delgados were pets. Maybe they were a test. When humans finally held power over a frightened creature, would they repeat the cruelty they feared? Jason chooses mercy, so the creature answers with mercy. That does not explain every rule of the apocalypse. It explains the emotional rule of the ending. The last house begins with a family trying to force open a door. It ends when they stop trying to defeat the life on the other side. The world outside is broken, flooded, and frightening, but 4 people walk into it together because, at the final moment, the strongest hand chose not to close.